What happens when a man over 60 stops chasing women completely? No more texting. No more impressing. No more trying. Most people think he loses something. They think he gives up. But what actually happens is the beginning of his real life. For most of a man's life, he is chasing something. Attention, validation, desire. And a massive part of that chase is women. It is the biological imperative. It is the societal script. But after 60, some men make a decision that changes everything. They stop chasing. Not because they can't, but because they finally understand something others don't. Today, we are going to explore the profound psychological metamorphosis that occurs when a man steps off the treadmill of pursuit. We will break down the 7 stages of this journey, from the deafening shock of the initial silence to the birth of a terrifying new identity. If you are tired of the chase, you are not alone. Welcome to the sanctuary. Stage number 1. The silence. When you first stop chasing, the immediate sensation is not peace, it is shock. For 40 years, your nervous system was wired to the frequency of pursuit. You were constantly scanning the horizon for opportunities, managing rejections, planning dates, and deciphering text messages. That mental noise became the background music of your life. When you intentionally turn that music off, the silence is deafening. You experience a form of dopamine withdrawal. The highs and lows of the dating market provided a chemical rush. Now, on a Friday night, your phone does not ring. There is no drama to solve. There is no one to impress. Most men panic in this silence. They re-download the apps. They call an ex. They cannot handle the void. But the man who stays the course discovers something miraculous. The silence stops being an absence of women and becomes the presence of self. You start to hear your own thoughts clearly for the first time in decades. The silence transforms from a terrifying vacuum into a vast, open canvas. The withdrawal ends, and the healing begins. Stage number 2. He regains control. When you are chasing a woman, you are implicitly handing her the remote control to your emotional state. If she smiles, you are a king. If she ignores you, you are a peasant. You are a passenger in the vehicle of your own self-worth. When you stop chasing, you snatch that remote control back. This is the reclamation of sovereignty. You realize that you no longer have to negotiate your weekend plans. You no longer have to pretend to be interested in small talk. You no longer have to spend your hard-earned money on dinners that feel like job interviews. This reclamation applies to your resources, time, energy, money, and your emotions. You become the absolute monarch of your reality. If you wake up in a good mood, the mood stays good, because there is no external variable, a partner's bad mood, to ruin it. This control is intoxicating. It is the realization that your happiness is an inside job, and you are finally the one doing the work. Stage number 3. The mental shift. This is a profound cognitive restructuring. For your entire life, society demanded that you be a performer. You had to prove your utility, your wealth, your humor, your status. You were an object meant to provide value to others. The moment you stop chasing, the performer identity dies. You transition into the observer. You look at the modern dating market, and instead of feeling anxiety about how you fit into it, you view it with the detached curiosity of a scientist studying an ant farm. You see men exhausting themselves, compromising their dignity to impress women who offer very little in return. You begin to see women not as prizes to be won, but simply as human beings. The pedestal shatters completely. You realize that much of what you thought was love was actually just the ego's desire to conquer. This shift brings immense psychological relief. You are no longer auditioning for a role in someone else's movie. You are finally directing your own. Stage number 4. The unexpected result. Here is the great cosmic irony of human psychology. When you desperately want women, you repel them. Neediness smells like weakness. But when you genuinely, authentically stop caring, when you truly do not need them, you become terrifyingly attractive. This is the magnetism of indifference. Women are hyper-attuned to social dynamics. They are used to men seeking their approval. When they encounter a senior man who is fit, polite, and completely unbothered by their beauty, it creates a glitch in the matrix. It triggers their curiosity and their competitive nature. Why isn't he trying to impress me? What does he have that makes him so secure? They assume you must be incredibly high value because you act like a man who has abundant options, even if your only option is your own peace. But the true test of this stage is that you don't take the bait. When they start chasing you, you don't revert to your old ways. You maintain your frame, because you know the peace of your solitude is worth more than the fleeting validation of their attention. We must be intellectually honest. The path of the solitary man is not without peril. Stage number 5, the danger, the abyss of apathy. When you stop needing anyone, you become invincible. But invincibility can easily curdle into isolation. When you realize how peaceful it is to be alone, your tolerance for any human friction drops to 0. A friend is 10 minutes late? You cut them off. A family member complains? You stop calling them. You risk developing empathy atrophy. Because you no longer rely on others for emotional support, you forget how to provide it. You become a hyper-efficient, self-sustaining machine. But machines are cold. The danger is that you become so comfortable in your armor that you forget how to take it off. You stop connecting entirely. A man must remember that while romantic chasing is often a fool's errand, brotherhood, mentorship, and community are essential for the human soul. Do not let your independence turn into bitterness. Do not mistake a fortress for a tomb. You must learn to lower the drawbridge for the few who are worthy of entry. Stage number 6, the new identity. If you navigate the danger of isolation successfully, you emerge on the other side as a fundamentally different creature. You are no longer the chaser. You are no longer the provider. You are the sovereign architect. Your identity is no longer defined by your relationship to a woman. It is defined by your relationship to yourself and your purpose. You find profound meaning in mastery. Perhaps you write. Perhaps you build. Perhaps you travel alone and photograph the world. You become a man of substance, not a man of reaction. You realize that the void society told you could only be filled by a romantic partner was actually a space meant for your own self-actualization. You have stopped apologizing for your existence. You have stopped bending your life to fit into the small boxes required by modern dating. You have expanded to your full height, and the view from up here is magnificent. And finally, Stage 7. What he gains. He lost the anxiety. He lost the late-night arguments. He lost the financial drain. He gained his soul. He gained absolute ownership of his time before the clock runs out. So what happens when you stop chasing women after 60? You don't lose. You transform. You become calmer, more focused, more in control. But you also face something most people avoid their entire lives: yourself. And that is where the real change begins. When you stop chasing, you don't lose women. You find yourself. If you've ever reached a point where you're tired of chasing, subscribe. Because most men never talk about this, but they all feel it. Welcome to the end of the chase and the beginning of your life. Case closed.